Could the housing market be on the brink of another 2008 disaster? Fortunately, recent data and expert projections suggest otherwise, helping to eliminate some of these feelings of gloom with some actual data. In fact, let's dive into why, especially here in Florida, where you can rest easy knowing the market is not poised for a massive downfall. Quite the opposite, in fact. Economic fears have been swirling, fueled by memories of the last financial crisis in 2008 that hit hard globally. However, stepping into today's economic climate reveals a completely different narrative altogether. Jacob Channel, senior economist at LendingTree, said, "At least right now, the fundamentals of the economy, despite some hiccups, are doing pretty good. While things are far from perfect, the economy is probably doing better than what people want to give it credit for." His outlook is supported by a surprising shift in expert opinion. According to a recent survey from the Wall Street Journal, only 39% of economists now predict a recession within the next year, a sharp decrease from 61% who had those predictions last year. Believe it or not, this significant change reflects growing confidence in our economic resilience. But what about specifics? Why, especially for those in Florida, is there a reason to feel confident about the housing market stability? Let's compare historical and current data on our key economic indicators, starting with unemployment rates. Considering historical data from sources like Macro Trends and the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, today's unemployment rate is commendably low. Currently, we're looking at figures that are way below the average of 5.7%. In stark contrast, recall the 2008 scenario, where post-crisis unemployment spiked to a staggering 8.3%. Such high unemployment was a catalyst for the housing market crash. If you lose your job, your mortgage gets a lot harder to pay. If your mortgage is a lot harder to pay, more than likely you're going to need to sell your house. However, if you just bought your house at an elevated price and everyone else is trying to sell too, now you're looking at a massive housing crisis. Where we stand now, which is the blue bar in this graph, illustrates a healthy employment landscape, which is a strong foundation for market stability. If you've got a job, your mortgage is a lot easier to pay. And in the near future, projections from that same Wall Street Journal survey suggest that the unemployment rate isn't suggested to surpass the long-term average anytime soon. This is particularly noteworthy because a stable employment rate lessens the risk of widespread foreclosures, which historically have been the precursor to housing market crashes. You might wonder though, what if the unforeseen does happen and unemployment starts to climb? Even in that scenario, the projected figures show unemployment remaining well below distress levels that could trigger a housing market downfall. This is pivotal because it indicates continuity in purchasing power and financial stability amongst a majority of consumers, which in turn supports the real estate market and its prices. The data also doesn't just indicate stability, but it also points to potential growth. Even though the rate of appreciation has slowed, it's still positive, and you can see even just over the next few years, you stand to gain a lot of potential value and equity in a property that you own. The buzz around an impending recession and a crashing housing market seems to be based more on fear than fact. Fear gets a lot more people to click on headlines. But with prevalent low unemployment, favorable economic forecasts, and a minimal amount of foreclosures in sight, the real estate market, especially in Florida, stands on firm ground. And now, more than ever, might be the opportune moment to consider getting into home ownership. So if you're sitting on the fence about purchasing a home in Florida or anywhere in the country, perhaps this data and these insights can guide you to a more informed decision. Remember, the current outlook is not only stable, it's promising, and it offers an excellent opportunity for homeowners and investors alike. Here's to making empowered and confident real estate decisions. And if you're like me, you want to do a ton of research before making a really big decision like buying a house. Let me just tell you that the foreclosure headlines are lying to you. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.